Shalom, friends. In our last tale, Ashmodai, king of the demons, usurped the throne of King Solomon. But maybe Ashmodai had a legitimate claim to it after all, because the whole time he was actually really Solomon's half-brother. Plot twist. Welcome back to Jewish Lore Reactions. On this episode, Agrat and the Destroying Angels. Solomon's father, King David Melech Yisrael, was many things. A poet, a musician, and an ab inspo model for Renaissance artists. Truly, King David had the range and a lot of problems. He did in fact do several royal fuck-ups, and I mean that literally, that God did not like, and for which he had to repent later. For example, the way in which David met Solomon's mother Bathsheba, who was indeed married to somebody else at the time. Whoops! David creeped on her in the bath in what she was convinced was in fact privacy. But he was on the roof and had binoculars, so if somebody could please put him on a literal watch list, that would be great. So he had his men bring Bathsheba to him, got her pregnant, sent her husband away to die in the front lines of battle, and then married her. Wow, there's a lot there to unpack about power dynamics, bodily autonomy, and consent. Now, I'm sure you've figured out by now that King David is in fact Ashmodai's dad. Now let me tell you about his mom, Agrat, one of the demon queens, who dances wildly on the rooftops. She who rolls deep at the head of a gang of 180,000 angels of destruction. Note what I just said. Angels, not demons. Each one of these angels was absolutely terrifying, but banded together with Agrat, they formed an intersectional coalition of mutually supportive absolute menace. We love to see it. Now, Agrat was not one of the leave me alone and I'll leave you alone type of demons. She was dangerous AF in more than one way. One night while David was asleep, he had a very, shall we say, vivid dream about Agrat. But turns out 'twas not a dream at all. 'Twas not. David, she took your sperm and the results are in. You are indeed... You are the father of Ashmodai. Also a lot to unpack here about power dynamics, bodily autonomy, and consent. Ahem. Now, in the Davidic dynastic tradition, the oldest sons of David did not actually inherit the throne. Solomon did. So if birth order isn't a main factor, Ashmodai had a legitimate claim to the throne that he stole. Change that to allegedly stole. I don't want to get sued. For a long time, Agrat and her gang were a hazard to society for anybody who went out at night. But one day, hundreds of years after her encounter with King David, Agrat runs into the one, the only, Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa. There were very few dangerous things that he could not wrangle. Seriously, one time a scorpion attacked him, and it died. And he would just walk around with its corpse menacingly perched upon his shoulder, to the point that there was an actual saying, woe to the man who meets a scorpion, and woe to the scorpion who meets Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa. So that should give you a sense of who we're working with here. Agrat says to Rabbi Hanina, you know, if I hadn't already heard about you and your Torah learning in heaven, I would have already demolished you the fuck out of my way. Yes, even a demon as volatile as Agrat spent significant time in the heavenly realm. Demons do, after all, have functions to fulfill there, and probably that's where she met her angel squad. Rabbi Hanina replied, oh my god, I'm considered important in heaven? Did you hear that? Well, if that's true, I command you to never go through inhabited human spaces. No shortcuts on Maine. You have to go the long way around. Agrat was deeply annoyed. But I appreciate that this turns into a lesson about compromising with people you don't like, balancing the needs of the human community with those of a demon and her squad of angelic destruction. Agrat said, I hear you, and yet I do have some questions. Like, realistically, how am I supposed to invade people's dreams and also dance on their rooftops in uninhabited areas? I dance with abandoned, but abandoned houses don't always have roofs. And if they do, that doesn't necessarily mean they're structurally sound. The math just is not, what is the phrase, mathing. So Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa curtailed her chaos for most of the week. But she and her terrifying entourage roam freely around on Tuesday and Friday nights. Fiddler on the Roof is out. Agrat on the Roof is in. Or rather, on.